Had it ended there, we'd probably be talking about Spain's efforts on the pitch. They would finally get the recognition that they've long deserved. We'd probably be analysing the football more in depth. But that, of course, didn't really happen.
The 2023 Women's World Cup final was unlike any other.
The fallout continued for 4 weeks straight.
Okay, Spain just won the World Cup, but oh man, this is huge.
There was so much happening every single day.
What was briefly a story about triumph soon became a battle for power and then a reckoning, as the Spain women's national team inspired a movement across Spain and the world.
Millions of girls, they know who they are and they know what they did.
They will be considered as heroes.
My name is Verónica Boquete. I'm a football player, ex-football player for the Spanish national team. I lived at that time in the national team that we were totally amateur and we were fighting to become professional and to earn the respect that we actually deserved. During my 14 years in the national team, I never felt really fully professional.
This lack of support came to a head at the 2015 Women's World Cup. Despite qualifying for the first time in the nation's history, Spain had a disappointing performance, crashing out in the group stage.
We arrived into the World Cup without friendly games, without real preparation. We already knew that was not the highest standard that we deserved. We knew that we were not out because of our talent or our attitude.
In 2015, the 23 players got together, they wrote a letter and they said enough is enough. They also asked for changes. The federation were very upset, they turned against the players. What helped them back then was the fact that they had mediatic support. The media was putting a lot of pressure for things to change, so much so that the coach at the time actually resigned from his post. And that's when Jorge Vildat was brought in. The sad thing about that moment was that you had Vero Boquete. Her reward for speaking out and fighting the corner of her teammates was to be blacklisted. She was never allowed to return to the Spanish national team again after that. And you're talking about a player that was at the peak of her powers. She's an absolute legend of Spanish football. She's one of the most important players to ever play the game in Spain. But beyond that, her character, her personality, her leadership on and off the pitch, it was a huge blow to her and I think to a lot of her teammates, the fact that that was the reaction.
No regrets because I think that moment and to speak up and what we did in 2015 helped to lead the way and helped probably to now in 2023 to have a national team that is world champion. It was tough and it's a part of my career that I gave up for my sport, but no regrets because, like I say, I think it was the right thing to do and it helped to be better. So it was something good.
So a year before the World Cup happened, we had the European Championship, and that's when the wheels really started to fall off. They were eliminated in the quarterfinals by England. And afterwards, the captains came out in a press conference and openly talked about how things needed to change. That they were very concerned about the fact that it wasn't professional enough. Internally, 15 members of the squad sent an email collectively to the federation voicing their concerns, voicing the fact that they wanted things to be taken more seriously. And instead of actually being listened to, they were met with a war. And the federation treated them horribly. They referred to them as capricious little girls, extortionists, brats. It was a terrible time in the lead up to the World Cup. It was very tumultuous. You had falling outs going on within the squad itself. And so going into it, a lot of people felt that this was going to be a really missed opportunity for the women's team. Everyone thought they'd get eliminated in the group stage. As they progressed through the knockout rounds, there was a lot of excitement building around the tournament. People started to really believe, hang on a minute, they can actually win this thing. And when they did reach the final, they put on a masterclass. I mean, they completely outclassed England. They showcased to the world the incredible richness of talent that Spain actually has when it comes to the women's game.
I couldn't talk for a couple of minutes because I was crying. I was thinking about how hard it was like years ago, how difficult it was, how far away you even couldn't believe that to be world champion could be an option.
And so I think, had it ended there, we'd probably be talking about Spain's efforts on the pitch. They would finally get the recognition that they've long deserved. We'd probably be analysing the football more in depth, but that of course didn't really happen.
During the post-match medal ceremony, Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales, with the world watching, pulled star player Jenny Hermoso in for an unwanted embrace and kiss, an action that set off a firestorm around the globe.
The fallout continued for 4 weeks straight. There was so much happening every single day, and there were so many crazy, bizarre, surreal twists and turns to the stories that evolved. I don't think anybody really thought that it would last as long as it did. I can only imagine how psychologically and emotionally draining it must have been for them. They were put in such an unfair position.
They knew that they needed to be the first ones to say, hey, this is no okay. And they asked if the players from the 2015 in Canada, we also could help and join the movement. And I say, what do you need? I'm gonna do it as fast as I can. All the players that pass from the national team, from the 70s, 80s, everyone wanted to join and to show and to speak up. I knew the players couldn't speak that much. If you say something, if you speak, you can pay the consequence. And I knew it because I already experienced that part. So for me, I have nothing to lose. I needed to do it for myself, but especially for them, because I was just saying all the things that they wish they could say.
There was certain moments where even the players said, okay, that's it, up until here. And that's when Alexia Putellas put out the tweet or on X saying, you know, hashtag se acabó, and it really took off. That's why the whole se acabó movement started. Se acabó, which means it's over. And that's why there were moments when 81 players signed an agreement saying we refuse to go back to play for the national team as long as these people are still in power.
Rubiales was banned from the sport, and head coach Jorge Vilda was removed weeks later, as the courage of the Spanish women's national team sparked a movement that resonated across Spanish society.
To really understand that incident, there's multiple things we have to understand. One is Spanish culture. Spanish culture has historically been very sexist, has been very misogynistic, has been what they call machista.
Here we are fighting against the culture, against a system that it had been settled for so many years.
This is not a new problem. It's been going on for so long, and they've been trying to speak out against this for so long. They just haven't been able to get anywhere with it. But I think so many women in society in Spain really identified with it because something like that has happened to them. Men and women just felt like, right, we're tired of this. This has to be a turning point for everybody. And it really turned into the Me Too moment for Spain.
They are heroes, for sure. They were the best. They show a beautiful football. They show a fantastic and strong mentality. They are inspiring a new generation, and they are also helping to change some mentalities in other generations.
I hope that, 20, 30, 50 years down the road, we'll look at this moment as a watershed moment where we saw the lines cross over between sport and society, to say sport was able to positively influence the culture. It was able to positively bring about a substantial change where women are just asking for equality all across the board. Now the younger generations see that it's possible, whereas before it was completely impossible.
For the first time in a long time, we are in the right direction.